"Whatever you do, don't look at the mirror at night," my grandmother had warned. "Sometimes, it looks back at you." I never believed in old superstitions. Grandma always had stories about haunted this or cursed that, but I chalked it up to her trying to keep me in line. That was until the night I stayed in her house alone. The old farmhouse had been in our family for generations. It had a charm about it, but it also had a way of making you feel small, like the walls had ears, and the shadows had eyes. It creaked and groaned as if alive, but I wasn't scared. At least, not until I saw it, the mirror in the upstairs hallway. It was massive, nearly reaching the ceiling, with an ornate frame carved in swirling patterns that almost seemed to move in the flickering light from the hallway bulb. The glass itself was dark, its surface almost absorbing the dim light. I hadn't noticed it before, and when I asked Grandma about it, she looked pale, her hand trembling slightly as she set her tea down. "That mirror. It doesn't belong here anymore," she said quietly. "It's cursed." I laughed. "Cursed? Really, Grandma? What does it do? Steal souls or something?" Her reaction wasn't what I expected. She grabbed my wrist, her grip like iron despite her frail frame. "You laugh now," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But if you ever see him, it'll be too late." I wanted to press her for details, but the haunted look in her eyes silenced me. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake her words. The farmhouse was silent except for the occasional groan of the old wood, but the silence felt heavy, oppressive. And then I heard it, a faint scraping sound, like nails dragging across glass. It was coming from the hallway. My breath caught in my throat. I told myself it was nothing, a draft, maybe an old tree brushing against the house. But the sound grew louder, more deliberate, like it wanted to be heard. Against every ounce of better judgment, I got up and opened the bedroom door. The hallway stretched before me, empty and dimly lit. But the mirror, its surface was fogged, as if someone had breathed on it. My chest tightened. Slowly, I stepped closer, each footfall echoing in the stillness. And then I saw him. A figure, tall, dark, with hollow eyes that stared straight into my soul, stood in the glass. His form was indistinct, like smoke trapped behind the glass. He didn't move, but I could feel his presence, cold and suffocating. When I moved, he moved. When I froze, he froze. Except, his grin widened. My knees buckled, and I stumbled back, the wooden floor groaning beneath me. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The figure tilted his head, his grin stretching impossibly wide. Then he raised a hand and pressed it against the glass. A crack formed beneath his fingers, jagged lines spreading outward like spiderwebs. I wanted to run, but I was rooted in place, paralyzed by the sheer terror coursing through me. The crackling sound grew louder, and then, with a deafening shatter, the mirror broke. But instead of glass raining down, the darkness behind the mirror spilled out. It wasn't natural, it was thick, almost alive, and it swallowed the light around it. The figure stepped through the void, his movements slow and deliberate, as if savoring the moment. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. "Stay back!" I screamed, but my voice felt small, insignificant. He didn't stop. His hollow eyes locked onto mine, and that grin, it was inhuman, stretching across his face like a predator relishing its prey. I ran. Down the stairs, out the front door, into the freezing night. The cold air stung my skin, but I didn't stop. I tore through the yard and into the woods beyond, branches clawing at my arms and legs. I tripped and fell, the damp earth clinging to my clothes, but I pushed myself up and kept running. The trees seemed to close in around me, their skeletal branches reaching out like hands. My breath came in ragged gasps, my vision blurred by tears of fear. But no matter how far I ran, I felt him behind me. I didn't have to look to know he was there. The last thing I remember before collapsing was his face. Inches from mine, his hollow eyes bore into me, and his grin stretched even wider, splitting his face like a grotesque mask. They found me the next morning, curled in the corner of Grandma's living room. I had no memory of how I got back, but the mirror was gone. The hallway where it once stood was empty, save for a faint outline on the wall where it had hung for decades. Grandma wouldn't speak of it, but every time I passed by a reflective surface, a window, a puddle, even a polished spoon, I swore I saw him. Watching. Waiting.